The vast emptiness of space stretched out before the Galactic Archaeological Survey ship, the Star Seeker. Its sleek, silver hull glinted in the light of a distant sun as it slowly approached a long-forgotten star system. On board, a team of alien researchers from various advanced civilizations across the galaxy eagerly anticipated their next discovery. Dr. Zixlar, the lead archaeologist, stood on the bridge. His 4 eyes blinked in rapid succession as he studied the holographic display before him. The Quantillion scientist's tentacles twitched with excitement. "Captain Brika, we're picking up some unusual readings from the third planet in this system," Zixlar announced, his translator converting his clicks and whistles into standard galactic common. The reptilian captain nodded her scaled head. "What kind of readings, Doctor?" she asked, her forked tongue flicking out briefly. "It appears to be a large collection of metallic objects in orbit around the planet," Zixlar replied. "They seem old, very old." As the Star Seeker drew closer, the crew's excitement grew. It had been cycles since they had found anything of real interest. Most of their expeditions resulted in cataloging space debris or studying long-dead worlds. But this could be something big. The ship's sensors began to paint a clearer picture of what lay ahead. A massive fleet of ancient vessels hung silently in space, like a graveyard of forgotten dreams. The ships were crude by modern standards. Their design spoke of a civilization that had only just reached for the stars. "By the Great Void," whispered Ensign Krill, a young Meridian whose bioluminescent skin pulsed with awe. "There must be hundreds of them." Captain Brika's eyes narrowed as she studied the fleet. "Doctor, what can you tell us about these ships?" Zixlar's tentacles danced over the holographic controls, bringing up detailed scans. "They appear to be constructed primarily of a titanium alloy. Primitive nuclear propulsion systems, no signs of faster-than-light capabilities. I'd estimate they're at least 5,000 standard years old, possibly older." A ripple of laughter spread through the bridge crew. The idea that anyone would send such a primitive fleet into deep space was amusing to these advanced beings. "What poor fools built this junkyard and thought they could conquer the stars?" chuckled Lieutenant Vox, his antennae twitching with mirth. Even Captain Brika allowed herself a small smile. "Well, it seems we found ourselves a cosmic curiosity. Prepare a landing party, Doctor. Let's get a closer look at these relics." As the Star Seeker maneuvered closer to the fleet, the crew couldn't help but feel a mix of pity and amusement for the long-gone civilization that had built these ships. How naive they must have been to think they could explore the galaxy with such basic technology. The landing party, led by Dr. Zixlar, boarded a sleek shuttle. As they approached one of the larger ships in the ancient fleet, the true scale of the vessels became apparent. Despite their primitive design, they were impressively large. "Interesting," mused Zixlar as they neared the hull of the old ship. "The outer plating shows signs of weapons fire and micro-meteor impacts. These vessels saw combat." The shuttle docked with the derelict ship, its advanced systems easily bypassing the ancient airlock. As the team stepped into the dead vessel, their suit lights illuminated corridors that had been dark for millennia. "Look at this," called out Ensign Krill, pointing to a faded symbol on the wall. It depicted a blue and green sphere with strange, angular script beneath it. Zixlar examined the symbol closely. Fascinating. This could be the emblem of their home world. And that writing. It's unlike anything in our linguistic databases. As they explored deeper into the ship, they found more curiosities. The layout was inefficient by modern standards, clearly designed for beings that walked on 2 legs. The control interfaces were crude, relying on physical interactions rather than neural links or thought commands. Can you imagine trying to pilot a starship with these primitive controls? Lieutenant Vox laughed, poking at an ancient console. But despite their amusement, there was no denying the sense of history that permeated the vessel. This was a ship built by beings who dared to dream of the stars, even when their technology was in its infancy. As the team prepared to return to the Star Seeker, Dr. Zixlar took one last look around. "You know," he said thoughtfully, "there's something admirable about this. They may have been primitive, but they had courage. To launch a fleet like this, with technology so basic, it must have taken incredible determination." The others nodded, a new respect dawning in their eyes. They may have come here to study relics, but they had found something more, a testament to the indomitable spirit of exploration. As they departed, none of them could have imagined that this was just the beginning. The true nature of the fleet, and the beings who built it, would soon shake the foundations of their galactic civilization. 2 weeks had passed since the discovery of the ancient fleet. The Star Seeker remained in orbit around the mysterious planet, its crew working tirelessly to unravel the secrets of the primitive ships. Despite their initial amusement, the alien researchers found themselves increasingly intrigued by the ingenuity of the long-lost civilization. Dr. Zixlar had set up a temporary lab on the largest ship of the fleet. He called it the flagship, though the term was met with chuckles from his colleagues. Today, he was joined by Lumi, a young Photosian researcher known for her brilliant mind and insatiable curiosity. "Careful, Lumi," Zixlar warned as the glowing being floated near an old control panel. "We don't want to damage anything." Lumi's light dimmed slightly in acknowledgement. "Of course, Doctor. But don't you find it strange? These ships are thousands of years old, yet some systems still have residual power." Zixlar's tentacles curled thoughtfully. "Yes, it is odd. Their power sources must have been more advanced than we initially thought." As they continued their examination, Lumi noticed a small pulsing light beneath a layer of dust. Intrigued, she reached out with a tendril of pure energy to brush the dust away. Suddenly, a low hum filled the air. Lights flickered to life across the bridge, and dormant screens blinked awake. "Lumi, what did you do?" Zixlar exclaimed, his 4 eyes wide with alarm. I just touched it." Lumi's glow intensified with excitement and fear. Before they could react further, a holographic image sputtered into existence in the center of the bridge. It showed a being unlike any they had ever seen, bipedal, with 2 arms, and a round head topped with fur. The being spoke, its words incomprehensible, but somehow compelling. As it talked, symbols and diagrams flashed around it, showing star maps and complex mathematical equations. "Incredible," breathed Zixlar. "This must be one of the ship's builders. But how is this possible after all this time?" Their wonderment was cut short by a violent shudder that ran through the ship. Outside, the rest of the ancient fleet was coming to life. Massive engines, thought to be nothing more than scrap metal, roared to life. Shield systems, far more advanced than anything the archaeologists had imagined, shimmered into existence around each vessel. Panic erupted on the Star Seeker as the crew watched the previously dormant fleet awaken. Captain Brika's voice crackled over the comm system. "Dr. Zixlar, what's happening down there?" "Captain, you won't believe this," Zixlar replied, his voice trembling with a mix of fear and excitement. "The fleet, it's alive." As if responding to his words, the ships began to move. They formed a perfect formation, with the flagship at the center. The hologram on the bridge changed, now showing what appeared to be battle plans and weapon schematics. "By the cosmic egg," Lumi whispered, her light pulsing rapidly. "These aren't just exploration vessels. They're a war fleet." The realization sent shockwaves through the research team. What they had dismissed as primitive technology was revealing itself to be something far more advanced and dangerous. On the Star Seeker, the crew watched in awe as the ancient fleet demonstrated maneuvers that defied their understanding of physics. The ships moved with a grace and precision that shouldn't have been possible for vessels of their age and apparent technological level. "Captain," Lieutenant Vox called out, his antennae quivering, "we're picking up energy readings off the scale. Whatever's powering these ships, it's like nothing we've ever seen before." Captain Brika's scales shifted color, a sign of her deep concern. "Send out an emergency broadcast to Galactic Central. They need to know about this immediately. As the message was sent, the ancient fleet suddenly ceased its maneuvers. As one, the ships turned towards the Star Seeker. For a moment, time seemed to stand still. Then, a beam of energy shot out from the flagship, enveloping the Star Seeker. But instead of destroying the research vessel, it began to transmit vast amounts of data. "Captain," Ensign Krill shouted, his bioluminescent patterns flashing wildly. "Our databases, they're being filled with information about the fleet, its creators, its purpose." As the crew of the Star Seeker tried to process the flood of information, one fact became crystal clear. The beings who built this fleet were called humans, and they were far more advanced than anyone could have imagined. The hologram on the flagship changed one last time, showing an image of a beautiful blue and green planet. Words appeared beneath it, now translated by the data transfer. "Earth awaits the return of her children. The Guardians stand ready." With that, the fleet fell silent once more, but there was no mistaking it now. These ships weren't relics. They were sentinels, left behind by a powerful race that had mysteriously vanished. As news of the awakening spread across the galaxy, one question burned in every mind. Who were these humans, and where had they gone? News of the ancient fleet's awakening spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Within days, the remote star system was swarming with ships from every major galactic power. Some came out of scientific curiosity, others with dreams of unlocking the fleet's advanced technology. But all were driven by one burning question. Who were these mysterious humans? The Galactic Council, the governing body of known space, called an emergency session. Representatives from hundreds of species gathered in the Great Crystal Dome on Centauri Prime to debate the situation. "Order! Order!" shouted High Counselor Zhen, her feathered crest flaring with agitation. The chamber slowly fell silent, all eyes turning to the tall avian being. "We face an unprecedented situation. An ancient fleet of immense power has awakened, built by a species previously unknown to us. We must decide how to proceed." The chamber erupted into chaos once more, each faction arguing for their own interests. The militaristic Krell Imperium demanded the fleet be seized for study. The peaceful Lumina Collective urged caution and diplomatic contact. The secretive Shadow Syndicate remained silent, their representatives already plotting how to steal the fleet's secrets. As the debate raged, Dr. Zixlar and his team worked tirelessly to decipher the vast amounts of data transmitted by the human fleet. They had set up a research base on a nearby moon, away from the growing crowd of ships in orbit around the fleet. "Look at this," Lumi said, her glow pulsing with excitement. She projected a hologram showing a star map. "These markings, they're spread across the entire galaxy." Zixlar studied the map, his tentacles twitching thoughtfully. Could these be human colonies, or perhaps allies? Their discussion was interrupted by a priority message from Captain Brika. "Doctor, you need to see this." Her scaled face looked worried even through the holographic projection. "We've detected anomalies at several of the locations on that star map. It seems like the humans left something behind at each spot." The implications were staggering. If the humans had indeed left artifacts or outposts across the galaxy, it meant their civilization was far more widespread than anyone had imagined. Meanwhile, on the fringes of the system, a sleek black ship slipped past the patrols. On board, a diverse crew of rogues and adventurers prepared for the heist of a lifetime. "All right, listen up," growled Captain Mara, a scared pterozoid with cybernetic enhancements. "Our employer wants proof that these humans existed. Something small enough to smuggle out, but significant enough to fetch a high price. We get in, we grab it, we get out. Any questions?" Her crew, a motley assortment of outcasts and mercenaries, nodded silently. They had all been drawn by the promise of riches beyond imagination. As Mara's ship approached the fleet, alarms blared across the system. The ancient vessels, dormant since their initial awakening, suddenly sprang to life once more. Energy shields shimmered into existence, and weapon systems powered up. On the Galactic Council ship, High Counselor Zhen watched in horror as the human fleet formed a defensive formation. "By the cosmic egg," she whispered, "what have we done?" But the fleet didn't attack. Instead, a massive hologram appeared in the space between the ships. It showed a being that looked similar to the one Zixlar and Lumi had seen, but different. This one wore what appeared to be a uniform and had an air of authority. A hologram spoke, its words now understandable thanks to the data transfer from before. "Attention, sentient beings of the galaxy. We are the Guardians, created by humanity to watch over their legacy. Your presence here has initiated our awakening protocol." A hush fell over every ship in the system as the hologram continued. Humanity foresaw a great threat to all life in the galaxy. They spread their knowledge and technology to key points across the stars, guarded by outposts like this fleet. The time has come for this knowledge to be shared. On Mara's ship, the crew stood frozen, their heist forgotten in the face of this revelation. Captain Mara herself felt a shiver run down her spine. Whatever they had stumbled into, it was far bigger than a simple treasure hunt. Back in the research base, Zixlar and his team worked frantically to process this new information. "Doctor," Lumi called out, her voice filled with awe. "I think I've found something about the humans' homeworld, a planet called Earth." As the name echoed across the galaxy, countless ships began to plot courses to the coordinates hidden within the human data. The hunt for humanity's origins had begun, and with it, a race that would change the fate of every species in the galaxy. As the galaxy buzzed with excitement over the discovery of the human fleet, a special task force was assembled to unravel the mystery of humanity. Led by Dr. Zixlar, the team included the brightest minds from various species, each bringing unique perspectives and skills to the table. Their base of operations was a massive space station hastily constructed near the human fleet. The station, named Nexus, became a melting pot of ideas and theories about the long-lost human civilization. Dr. Zixlar stood before a holographic display, his tentacles moving rapidly as he explained their findings to the assembled team. "Friends, what we've discovered so far is astounding. The humans weren't just advanced. They were beyond anything we could have imagined." Lumi, the young Photosian researcher, chimed in, her light pulsing with excitement. Their technology was centuries ahead of our current level, but more importantly, they had a unique way of thinking, of solving problems. The Krell representative, a hulking reptilian named Grok, growled skeptically. "If they were so advanced, why did they disappear? Why leave behind these Guardians?" A holographic image flickered to life, showing a timeline of human history. It started with primitive cave paintings and rapidly progressed through various stages of development. "That's just it," said Professor Aona, a wise Eternian known for her expertise in ancient civilizations. "The humans developed at an unprecedented rate. Look here," she pointed to a section of the timeline. "They went from basic combustion engines to faster-than-light travel in less than 500 years. The team watched in awe as the hologram showed the rapid expansion of human civilization across the stars. Colonies sprouted on countless worlds, and magnificent cities rose on planets that had once been barren rocks. But then, Aona continued, her voice dropping, something changed. The hologram shifted, showing a dark, ominous cloud spreading across the galaxy. "We don't know exactly what this threat was," Zixlar explained, "but it was enough to make the humans take drastic action." Images flashed by, showing massive evacuation efforts, the construction of giant arcs, and the creation of the Guardian fleets. They knew they couldn't fight this threat directly, Lumi added, so they scattered their knowledge and technology across the galaxy, hoping that future civilizations would be able to use it. Grok's scales bristled with a mix of admiration and frustration. "So they ran, left us to face this threat." "No," Zixlar said firmly. "They didn't run. They sacrificed themselves to give the rest of us a fighting chance." The hologram showed one final image, a beautiful blue and green planet, Earth, the birthplace of humanity. This, Zixlar said softly, is where it all began, and where it might have ended. As the team digested this information, alarms suddenly blared across the station. Captain Brika's voice came over the intercom. "Dr. Zixlar, we're picking up a massive energy signature. It's coming from Earth's coordinates." The team rushed to the observation deck, watching in awe as a swirling portal of energy burst into existence. From within it emerged a ship, unlike anything they had ever seen. Its design was both alien and familiar, a perfect blend of organic shapes and advanced technology. "By the cosmic egg," whispered Aona, "could it be?" Before anyone could respond, a transmission came through. A face appeared on the screen, unmistakably human, yet somehow different, more evolved. "Greetings, children of the galaxy," the being said, its voice resonating with warmth and power. "We are the Ascended, the descendants of those you call humans. We have watched and waited, and now, at last, the time has come for us to return." The station erupted in chaos as researchers and diplomats alike tried to process this new development. Questions flew fast and furious. Where had the humans been? Why had they returned now? What was the threat they had foreseen? As the Ascended ship docked with Nexus, Dr. Zixlar felt a mix of excitement and trepidation. They were about to come face to face with living humans, or rather, what humans had become. The doors slid open, and a group of Ascended humans stepped onto the station. They looked both familiar and alien, their bodies glowing with an inner light, their eyes filled with the wisdom of eons. As introductions were made and information began to flow, one thing became clear. The story of humanity was far from over. In fact, it seemed that the greatest chapter was just beginning. The galaxy held its breath, waiting to see what would happen next in this incredible tale of human perseverance and ingenuity. The arrival of the Ascended humans had thrown the galactic community into a frenzy of excitement and fear. As diplomats from every major species rushed to make contact, Dr. Zixlar and his team were granted an unprecedented opportunity: direct access to the Ascended and their knowledge. On board the Nexus station, a special chamber had been prepared for the meeting. The air buzzed with tension as Dr. Zixlar, Lumi, Professor Aona, and Grok waited for their guests to arrive. The door slid open, and 3 Ascended humans entered. They seemed to float rather than walk, their bodies radiating a soft, warm light. The leader, who had introduced himself as Zephyr, spoke first. "We understand you have many questions," Zephyr said, his voice melodious and calming. "But first, we must reveal the true purpose of the fleet you discovered." With a wave of his hand, Zephyr created a holographic display in the center of the room. It showed the galaxy, but not as they knew it. Dark tendrils crept between the stars, spreading like a cancer. "This," Zephyr explained, "is the threat we foresaw. We call it the Void. It consumes all in its path, extinguishing life and light." The assembled aliens watched in horror as entire star systems in the hologram winked out, swallowed by the creeping darkness. "But the fleet," Lumi interjected, her glow pulsing with anxiety. "How can it stop this?" Zephyr smiled, a gesture both familiar and alien on his evolved features. "The fleet is more than just ships. It is the key to awakening the galaxy's defense system." The hologram shifted, showing a complex network of energy lines connecting various points across the galaxy. Many of these points corresponded with the locations they had discovered in the human data. "Our ancestors," Zephyr continued, "spent centuries building this network. Each point is a massive energy generator, designed to create a barrier against the Void. The fleet you found is the control center, meant to activate and coordinate the entire system." Dr. Zixlar's tentacles curled in excitement. "Incredible. But why didn't your ancestors activate it themselves?" The Ascended humans exchanged glances, their expressions turning somber. The system requires a tremendous amount of energy to activate. Another ascended, named Luna, explained. Our ancestors realized that the only way to power it was to channel the combined life energy of their entire civilization. A heavy silence fell over the room as the implications sank in. Gruck, the Krell representative, was the first to speak, his voice gruff with emotion. They sacrificed themselves to save the galaxy. Zephyr nodded solemnly. Yes, but not just themselves. They knew the system would need to be maintained, guided by conscious minds. So they found a way to ascend, to transform their consciousness into energy beings. We are their descendants, the guardians of their legacy. Professor Aona leaned forward, her ancient eyes shining with curiosity. But why return now? Why not earlier? The transformation took time. Luna explained. We needed to evolve, to understand our new existence, and we had to wait for the galaxy to be ready, for species to evolve that could help us operate the system. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the station. Captain Brika's voice came over the intercom, panic evident in her tone. Doctor, we're detecting massive energy disturbances at the edge of the galaxy. Something's coming. The ascended humans exchanged grim looks. Zephyr turned to the group, his expression serious. It seems we have returned just in time. The void approaches, and we must act quickly. He gestured towards the hologram of the fleet. We need your help to activate the system. Each ship in the fleet must be crewed by representatives from different species. Your diversity, your unique perspectives and abilities are key to making the defense network function. Dr. Zixlar felt the weight of the galaxy settling on his shoulders. He looked at his team, saw the determination in their eyes, and knew what they had to do. We're ready, he said, speaking for all of them. Tell us what we need to do. Zephyr smiled, relief evident on his face. Thank you. Now let us begin. The fate of all life in the galaxy hangs in the balance. As they rushed to prepare, broadcasting urgent messages across the galaxy to gather crews for the fleet, Dr. Zixlar couldn't help but feel a sense of awe. They were about to embark on a mission planned by an ancient, highly advanced civilization to save not just their own worlds, but all of existence. The true purpose of the human fleet was finally revealed, and with it, the greatest challenge the galaxy had ever faced. The time had come to see if the diverse species of the galaxy could unite and live up to the legacy left behind by humanity. The galaxy was in chaos. News of the approaching void had spread like wildfire, causing panic on countless worlds. But amidst the fear, hope emerged as ships from every corner of known space raced towards the human fleet. On board the flagship, now renamed Unity, Dr. Zixlar worked frantically with a diverse crew to understand the ship's systems. His tentacles danced across holographic interfaces as he coordinated with teams on other ships. Status report, barked Captain Brika, her scales shimmering with tension. Lumi's voice came through the comm system, her usual cheerful glow now a focused, intense light. Energy core stable on all ships, Captain. We're at 85% power and rising. Grok growled from his station, monitoring the weapon systems. Defensive grids online. But will they be enough against this void? Before anyone could answer, alarms blared across the fleet. The main view screen lit up, showing a terrifying sight. At the edge of the galaxy, a wall of absolute darkness was advancing, swallowing stars in its path. Zephyr, the ascended human, appeared in a shimmer of light. It's time, he said, his voice calm but urgent. We must activate the defense network now. Dr. Zixlar nodded, his 4 eyes blinking rapidly. All ships, initiate startup sequence. Channel all power to the main beacon. Across the fleet, crews of different species worked together, their differences forgotten in the face of this cosmic threat. Energy beams shot out from each ship, connecting in a dazzling web of light. On a distant planet, Professor Aona stood before an ancient human artifact, her wrinkled hands hovering over its controls. Nexus Point Alpha, online, she reported, her voice crackling through subspace. Similar reports came in from across the galaxy as hidden human outposts sprang to life, each adding its power to the growing network. Back on Unity, the bridge crew watched in awe as a shimmering barrier began to form at the galaxy's edge, directly in the path of the oncoming void. "It's working," Lumi exclaimed, her light pulsing with excitement. But their celebration was short-lived. The void slammed into the barrier with unimaginable force, sending shockwaves across space-time. "Barrier holding at 80%, Grok reported, his claws digging into his console. "But it's draining our power fast." Dr. Zixlar's tentacles twisted in frustration. "We need more power." "Zephyr, isn't there anything else we can do?" The ascended human's form flickered, his energy clearly strained. "There is one thing, but it requires a great sacrifice." Captain Brika stepped forward. Her eyes narrowed. "Whatever it is, we'll do it. The fate of the galaxy is at stake." Zephyr nodded solemnly. The system was designed to be powered by consciousness, by the very essence of sentient beings. We Ascended have been maintaining it, but to reach full power. Understanding dawned on Dr. Zixlar. "You need us to join you." "To ascend." "Yes," Zephyr confirmed, "but it's not without risk. The process is irreversible, and not all may survive." A heavy silence fell over the bridge. Then, one by one, the crew members stepped forward. "I volunteer," said Lumi, her light steady and bright. "As do I," growled Grok, standing tall. Captain Brika nodded, her scales shimmering with determination. "We all do." Dr. Zixlar felt a surge of pride for his team, for all the beings who had come together in this moment. "Tell us what to do," he said to Zephyr. The ascended human began to glow brightly. "Focus your minds on the barrier. Think of all you're fighting for, of the life you're protecting. Let your consciousness expand beyond your physical forms." As the crew concentrated, a strange sensation swept over them. Dr. Zixlar felt his body becoming lighter, his mind expanding. He could sense the others around him, their thoughts and emotions merging with his own. Across the galaxy, similar transformations were taking place as volunteers on other ships and outposts joined the ascension. The barrier at the galaxy's edge blazed with renewed energy, pushing back against the void with incredible force. Stars that had been swallowed began to re-emerge, freed from the darkness. On the view screen, the crew of Unity, now beings of pure energy, watched as the void was slowly but surely driven back. "We did it," Dr. Zixlar thought, his consciousness now intertwined with the others. "No," came Zephyr's reply, filled with warmth and pride. "You did it. You've proven that the legacy of humanity lives on in the unity and sacrifice of all sentient beings." As the last of the void retreated from the galaxy, a new era dawned. The beings of the galaxy, now led by a council of Ascended from various species, faced a future filled with challenges, but also with the knowledge that together they could overcome anything. The human fleet, once a mystery, now stood as a symbol of hope and unity for all. A century had passed since the great battle against the void. The galaxy had changed in ways no one could have imagined. The heroes who had ascended to save everything were now legends, their stories told on countless worlds. On a small blue-green planet at the edge of the galaxy, a young Zixlumian named Ziller stood before a massive monument. The statue depicted beings of various species, their forms merging into pure energy. At its base, a plaque read, "To those who sacrificed all to preserve life." Ziller's tentacles waved gently as he absorbed the sight. Half Quantillion like Dr. Zixlar, half Photosian like Lumi, he was living proof of how the galaxy had come together. "Quite a sight, isn't it?" a voice said behind him. Ziller turned to see an ascended being, glowing softly in the twilight. Though the being's form was pure energy, Ziller could make out features that seemed both Krell and Eternian. You're one of them, aren't you?" Ziller asked, his voice filled with awe. "One of the original Ascended." The being nodded, its light pulsing gently. I am, or rather we are. I carry within me the merged consciousness of Grok and Professor Aona. You may call us Grayona. Ziller's 4 eyes widened. It's an honor. I've studied your story my whole life. Is it true that humans left more than just the defense network? Grayona's form shimmered with what might have been a chuckle. Indeed. Come, let us walk. There's something you should see. As they moved through the lush landscape, Grayona spoke of the years following the Void's defeat. The Ascended had guided the galaxy into an era of unprecedented cooperation and advancement. But they had also made a surprising discovery. The humans, Grayona explained, didn't just leave technology behind. They left themselves. They crested a hill, and Ziller gasped. Before them stretched a vast city, its architecture a blend of organic forms and advanced technology. And walking its streets were beings Ziller had only seen in historical records. Humans, he whispered. Grayona nodded. A hidden colony, preserved in stasis for eons. We awakened them a decade ago. They're still adjusting, still learning about the galaxy their ancestors helped save. As they watched, a group of human children ran past, laughing as they played with young Krell and Photosians. The sight filled Zillar with a warmth he couldn't explain. But why keep them hidden for so long? Zillar asked. Grayona's light dimmed slightly. The Ascended debated this for years. We feared that revealing them too soon might lead some to worship humans as gods, or resent them for the challenges their legacy brought. We wanted the galaxy to come together on its own terms. Ziller nodded, understanding the wisdom in this decision. And now we believe the galaxy is ready to truly understand and appreciate humanity's legacy. As if on cue, an elderly human woman approached them. Despite her age, her eyes sparkled with vitality. Grayona, she said warmly, I thought I sensed you nearby. Ziller, meet Dr. Ilara Chen, one of the awakened humans, and now a key member of the Galactic Council. Grayona introduced. Ziller's tentacles quivered with excitement as he greeted her. Dr. Chen smiled at his enthusiasm. You know, she said, when we went into stasis, we had no idea if our plan would work. To wake up and find that not only did it succeed, but that it brought the galaxy together in ways we never imagined. It's overwhelming. Zillar couldn't contain his curiosity. Dr. Chen, what's next for humanity? For all of us. Dr. Chen's eyes twinkled. That, young one, is up to all of us. Humans, Ascended, and every species in the galaxy. We face new challenges now. Exploring beyond our galaxy, understanding the nature of consciousness itself, ensuring that the peace we've achieved lasts. Grayona's light pulsed in agreement. The legacy of humanity wasn't just technology or even sacrifice. It was the idea that together, we can overcome anything. As the sun set, casting a golden glow over the city, Zillar felt a sense of purpose wash over him. He was part of something greater, a cosmic story that had been unfolding for eons. I want to help, he said firmly, to continue this legacy. Dr. Chen and Grayona exchanged pleased looks. That, said Grayona, is exactly what we hoped you'd say. As they walked towards the city, Zillar knew that the greatest adventure was just beginning. The legacy of humanity had opened the door to a future filled with endless possibilities, and he was ready to step through it. The galaxy, once divided, now stood united. And somewhere, in the great beyond, the original humans who had set this all in motion looked upon their children, all the beings of the galaxy, with pride.